I'll check the vocals. Vocals.
We sound check.
Or sponsors.
Oh. Okay, hold up. I want to pull a copy of myself.
Oh, yeah. I'll check these out soon. After. Phone on vibrator, silent.
Sounds good. Rock the bell.
So, did you want? I guess that's gonna be loud. I realized in
Ooh.
retrospect, I was like, it's
You
gonna
have
be
some
loud
of
and
those?
crunchy.
What is that? The truffle ones?
You know, Taco Guaco. It's kind of like Dorito.
Are those yours? Like,
I'll pour you some out, and then we'll bring it to the brewery and eat it with beer there.
Yeah, it's
I
okay.
realize it's gonna be loud and crunchy on air.
Oh, that'd be cool.
It's just because you want some now.
I know, but
Do you need to check the?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm gonna check it just a little.
hootie hoo. I don't know how I'm gonna talk. This is how I'm gonna talk.
Yeah, it's good.
This is who I am right now.
This is who you are always. Just be who you always are. Be true to yourself, Paul.
I'm true as hell. I'm a banshee in the night.
That's never been my sense. It's never. If you ask me like who is Paul, I never. My first, second, third, fourth, fifth, or sixth thought would never have been Banshee.
What, so would you say I'm chill?
Yeah, I think you're pretty chill, Paul. Pretty chill.
I'm not chill. I'm good though.
Yeah, it's a little loud. No? Or,
On your
or it's just
headphones?
my headphones, or if it's actual.
I like yell.
I know, but that clock above your head, which is annoyingly in the 24-hour format, says 6:02.
Yeah, we're about to start.
I see that. I like the Gucci air freshener. That looks like.
Where is it?
Yeah,
Oh.
Gucci man.
Is that the rapper's name is Gucci?
Gucci man. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's doing great. I'm really glad that he's like able to progress as a human. Like he's doing really good.
To air fresheners.
He's fit. He's like in shape, and he's being a model.
Like how old is he of a rapper? Like when was his music the most popular?
I think in the 2008 range,
Oh,
2009 range.
It's contemporaries with Ludacris.
Yeah, he's contemporary with Lucas, but he has like serious.
I'm pitching you another show idea right now. It's the stupid shit Yuval says about hip hop and other things he doesn't really know about.
Contemporary is Ludacris and
there were peers.
And Outkast. Like what?
Fuck, what episode is this? 5. I think it's 5. So actually, I am watching it.
Oh, dope.
Alright, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for another episode of My Little Town, formerly known as Cynical and Analytical. And actually, since in honor of our guest who's here, formally, I think this is going to be, I'm actually going for the most renamed podcast, like Guinness, something, like the beer, not the...
How many changes have you gone
Well,
through?
it was just the tip when I recorded, we were just saying this, 2 years ago, I recorded the first thing that I ever recorded that I was speaking on in, an interview capacity. With Mary Smith, shout out, who's watching Facebook Live. Another local comedian. Paul's not a comedian, but no.
One end.
But so it was originally called Just the Tip, named after the comedy show that Paul hosted, Just the Tip, which is named that in part because it's funny, but also because the comics would collect tips throughout the show, and that was like our revolutionary idea. Like, what's so different, being a stand-up than being like a server, or you're serving up the laughs. So
Yeah.
you should get,
I mean, you get the immediate attention from people laughing, so why not get the immediate money?
Right. But anyway, that spiraled out of control real quick. So we're here for episode 5. I'm pretty sure I never know what episode we're on. I have to go back when I name the file, like when I think it's episode 5.
You do what you gotta do, man. You pulled me one day. You just pulled me aside. You're like, "Yo, I got the recorder on. We started the podcast."
Yeah,
this is our podcast episode.
Back in the day, that was like 2 years ago. We literally just recorded it on, I think, Mary's iPhone.
Yeah, you're like, forget all this other outside stuff. Just turn the phone on.
To be fair,
say something.
To be fair, that was part of the whole highbrow concept of the show. It was just a tip on what was it, raw and uncut. So it was like. The idea was that the show would be raw and not really edited or fine tuned, and I think it was something beautiful that then grew into something.
Yeah, it was really raw. I used to be real raw, bro.
You used to be all right.
Well, we used to all. I mean, you still raw. You know, I feel like I cut down on my rawness, bro.
Yeah. New York has curbed your
my rawness. I'm not allowed to be all dirty. You know.
But so, as we're, I guess, like 4 minutes into this, and I haven't introduced you yet. So, Paul Julmeus, welcome to my little town.
Hello. Yes, Paul Julmeus.
Julmeus, I could have said it a little French, I guess. But I'm Yuval Ophir with Yo Miami. You're, I don't know, insert like catchy, like hipster, like your source for all experiential activations of culture crusades in the general vicinity of the arts district nearest you.
Yeah, that's who you are. Yeah,
right? I think that's a good.
The crusade. You said crusade.
No, that's the thing is, and I'm working on literally. I'm writing like an op-ed, like an editorial, like article, blasting and calling out all these people who are using the words culture crusaders. Because I'm like, that wasn't the best thing for everyone, right? Like the Crusades, like that, that was kind of like a religious war on other people.
Yeah, and then it was
so, and what's funny is there's people who use that initially referred to themselves as culture vultures, and I'm like, how do you not get that that's not a good thing?
The thing about this, Yuval, is I like to have fun. So people who start talking like that, I'm out the way. I'm like, wait, I should go home.
Right. I mean,
sorry you got to deal with those. I'm sorry. I don't even know culture crusades. Yeah, whatever. It's been a crusade every day.
Exactly. I do have to shout out before we dive into the down the rabbit hole with Paul. J Wakefield Brewing, our sponsor, hooking it up with an awesome beer tonight. I never know what we're gonna get. It's a little bit of Russian roulette. They hooked up the I Woke Up in a New Biscotti.
I love it.
Is that a reference to a rap song?
I woke up in a new Bugatti.
Is that?
Yeah. It's really good.
We're just saying I need to have another show where it's just me cluelessly talking to people about like hip hop and other things I know.
If you got rappers that taught you about hip hop and then like scolded you for being wrong, that'd be funny.
Bet you I could get those like the now like popular whatever like rappers out here just based on the fact of there's this show with this guy who knows nothing about like I feel like if they hear like, the stupid shit I say like I just want to see if this guy's like is he really on that level or is he like is this an act? I'm like no I have no idea.
You'll get an audience. I mean you're gonna get an audience. I think the more niche you get, I mean, and there's good local rappers around here. Like I think
shout out
South Florida rap is on point as hell.
Kamikaze beatboxer, shout out.
Kamikaze from what? What's the band? Okay, my bad.
He's flying. He's involved with a lot. Oh, Telekinetic. You're gonna say
Telekinetic.
I was going further back, but. But yeah, no. Shout out Telekinetic. But going back to Wakefield, they have their annual beer fest invitational coming up. They should book John to DJ. John from Jolt doing this now. Coming up February. I should have looked at the date, but let me go ahead and click on the link.
Damn, I want to go.
You can find it. You definitely want to go. So whether you're a beer nerd or you're trying to impress your friends by being like, yo, I know all the coolest things about all the coolest beers and like I'm up on all my cultural crusade shit. Either way, go check it out. February 2nd, Saturday. It's 12 to 5. Beer from over 120 independent craft breweries. nearly 30 of your favorite J. Wakefield beers on draft. I don't know if it's at Mana again. That's where it was last year, but you can go check it out. It's jwakefieldbrewing.com/Wakefest 2019. Tickets are on sale now. I went last year. Actually went from the first year. I think I'm going every year, and definitely an awesome beer time that you end up only vaguely remembering later, but you remember like the highlights, and then you see pictures. But Paul, let's talk about you now that we're past all that.
Oh, I mean, I love Jay Wakefield. I just didn't want to be like, yo, Jay Wakefield's the best, yo. Sponsor my next event. You know, sponsor me. Follow me on Facebook. Yeah, Jay Wakefield's on point. I would go to Beer Fest if I was in New York.
Maybe we'll get you to MC.
Yo, hit me up. Hit me up, man.
John, I know you're listening. But, you know.
Yeah.
We'll see what we could do. So, yeah, I want to talk. So, I'm assuming, you know, I always kind of assume that everyone that's, I know it's that Sapporo sign that I realized I kept seeing this flash, and I'm like, sorry. I was like, is the camera flat? Like, do I have the flash on somehow, weirdly? Paul. So I'm assuming, you know, most people listening are familiar, but Paul, local comedian, I would say one of the waves of pioneers that kind of helped get the scene where it's at today. One of the main players, movers, and shakers. Culture precinct. But so you ran. I mean, let's throw out some names of places that don't exist. But Elwood's one of the longer running open mic.
Elwood's, you know, for Shaw, another big mover of another movement. Because it's the movements move quick,
they do,
unnoticed, and silent.
Yeah.
Before Shaw, he's doing big things. He's opened up from the guy from the UK. You know what I'm talking about? The
Russell Brand?
No, the brash guy. He has the show.
Jeffrey. Jason Jeffrey. It's a 2J name.
Jim Jeffries. Jim Jeffries. He's opened up for Jim Jeffries, and then Daniel Reskin hosted it with John Wynn. And then me and John Gregory hosted it, and
those are all big. Like John's doing, you know, good stuff out in LA and Victoria and stuff. Daniel, shout out! I linked up with him in Denver recently. Good things.
Yeah, and it was such a great opportunity because Elwood's was just, it was like real. It was just great. It was just it was fun.
The memories all flooding back.
Yeah. It was good. The crowds are like. They were listening, but also really tough, and then there was this insanity, like just the whole area insane. So,
I feel like, do you think that's a thing now that you're in New York? I'm realizing very quickly this is gonna be a very ADD all over the place interview.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe both. It's a combination. I don't know if it's just me but,
no, I'm not. I have no structure.
We'll find a tunnel, you know, a channel to.
We'll make it back home. Don't worry. Not worried, bro.
So. What was the name of the homeless guy that you talked about?
Spoonie G. Spoonie G.
R.I.P. along with Elwood's now. I don't know that he's dead,
bro. Spoonie G. I'm telling you, so the restaurant closed randomly. Spoonie G was sitting on a milk crate when I was supposed to work that day. And
you worked there also?
I used to work there. Very great place to work. I'm trying to be positive, bro. Yeah. Nah, Spoonie G was sitting there, and he was just like, yeah, they got ran out of town. I'm like, Spoonie G, you have no connects. They don't talk to you like that. Now, they would feed him burgers, and he did chase a dude with a hammer. So I think he got some...
Like, for them? Like, there was someone causing trouble, and they're like, go get Spoonie G
with
the hammer.
It was like the people next door was a juice company, and they were like, the whole area was being built by, like, this... They're recruiting random homeless people to the point where it was literally the space was being built by homeless people to see walking. And then just like, I'm telling you, it was just like, and the guy would come through and he had such a bravado. And I was just like, you know, there's some fun stuff happening here. I wish I knew more, you know? Yeah. But Elwood's is dope, man.
It's possible because she ran for like that commissioner seat or something. Maybe there was like some political blowback. Something.
I believe it. I believe it.
Miami, sunny place, shady people.
Yeah. 100%.
But actually, what I wanted to talk about is you mentioned that about the room being a tough room, and I think that especially outside of the
it was a real room.
What does that mean to you?
Like, they like real concepts, real like they just want you to bring the heat on your jokes, and they like when it's developed. So it's like a good room for that. But if you
The
try
audience
out
you're saying, or
the audience, yeah. The owners were fun, man. We
like
just,
you had regulars, you had people that would go out, like you know,
we
like,
had a
do
group.
show, and so
Yeah.
it was people that were actively looking for somewhere that they could see comedy, you know, and not a comedy club, or because at the time, I mean,
There was no comedy.
Miami Improv was
No.
closed, right?
There was no comedy.
Yeah.
So it was like all the comics would just come through. Literally, all the comics would get up. Sometimes we put up like 18 comics,
Right.
and just like, and then like everybody get up and have fun, and we just like, and the owner loved comedy. He would literally just give us all drinks. Like,
Right.
I couldn't. He would get so mad at me if I didn't perform and drink. I'd be like, I don't perform. He's like, drink. Like, if everybody wasn't leaving with a drink in their hand, he was mad.
Right.
Which is probably why.
Now we know
Another reason
where they
why.
went wrong.
Oh, the fun never ends. No,
but-
fun has to stop, actually. Yeah.
It did stop.
You're right. It did stop. For the good.
But so tell me how that idea of, because I feel like that's something that is not specific to Miami, but I think Miami is known for among comics, or at least comics that have performed here for even a little bit, that Miami is a tough city to perform comedy in, especially if you're outside of that kind of antiseptic, like clean operating room that is like a comedy club, which there are not that many of even still, you know, today. Miami Improv just opened up back in now Doral, but I think we might be ahead of like another wave of like there are going to be new places opening. I'm seeing like more, you know, the bars and those spots that are kind of open to it. But how has you, so you've been in New York, we were saying like 2 years now, right?
Yeah.
How's your experience been in terms of the scene in New York that's comparable to what we're talking about, like the Elwood's Taurus, you know, like those types of spots, like bar, restaurant, you know, whatever it is, like not comedy club venues. Is it developed out there? Is it how's the audience also specifically compared to down here?
So there's a lot of layers to this question. I just feel like the audiences are, I think to me, are easier, because I think in Miami it's hard to do comedy in Miami unless you really cater to Miami, you know, because Miami is very its own thing.
You're saying, in other words, make references to things that you only get if you live here.
Yeah, and it's like also this like weather, you know, like weather makes comedy different. Like you look, it's like people, when you really think about it, in like, you know, like if you're gonna kill in South Beach, you gotta make sure you dress nice. You gotta make sure you're happy. You gotta make sure you sell yourself. You gotta make sure you're having fun. You're not putting out all this, because this is warm weather comedy. You know what I mean? So when I go to, you know what I mean, you gotta be happy. You gotta be on point. It's gotta be simple, fun. You know, but when you get in the cold weather, people just inside, they want to hear darker stuff. So I mean, I'm a little cold weather. I'm a little cold weather of my comedy. So when I bring my cold stuff that I made in Miami to New York, they like it because it's not as cold as, or cold as sad as it usually. It's a nice balance. It's like, yeah, you are dark, but you also know how to be happy. It's like, wow. It's like, yeah, you know. But I go, you know.
You're a sad clown I could get behind.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but that's how it should be.
Right.
So, but like over there, they're just like, I'm super sad all the time, and I'm just like, yeah, I'm sad, but like, you gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. You gotta laugh. This is funny, man. So it's just no, I'm cool, but it's just in that concept, in that regard, I think if you're a person that's if you do yourself in Miami and you survive and then you go to New York, I think you're gonna really start hitting. But if you do that only Miami stuff, it's gonna kind of like, you're gonna have to switch it up a little.
Right, like if you're doing geographically specific comedy, and I feel like that's something that someone like Chris Flanagan, for example, maybe has to work his way around, like navigate, in the sense of a lot of his comedy is specific to like his southern roots and things like that, but he's able to adapt it to a way where in Miami, you know, he talks about the Rose Lady or the Flower Lady or whatever, like the homeless guy taking the credit card or whatever. So he found a way to take his roots, you know, the southern thing, but kind of focusing on the things that everyone knows about when it comes to the South, but then he tailors it to, like, that persona, he tailors it to the experiences that he has in Miami. So I guess it would be kind of the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, to the New York, there's way more of an audience that's willing to sit down and listen to comedy. like in
so
a real
why
sense.
is that? Is that actually? It just hit me. Is that a weather thing? Like they're just more used to having to like be stuck indoors somewhere, like doing something.
Yeah, I think it is because I mean when my buddy Andres, when he would go on
Taboada?
Taboada, he was telling me when he was in Chicago in the summer, it was actually the audiences were light. Because it's just
So
like,
it was like
it's not
seasonal
this,
crowds.
It's just like, because in the wintertime when it's cold, that's when people want to, you walk to your comedy show nearby and you go hear people say some weird stuff or dark stuff, Here it's just like there's so many other things to do.
Right.
It's not the selling point.
Right. Yeah.
And it's honestly, it's not that it's not the selling point. I just feel like Miami is like very progressive with the comedy. Like I feel like more people like Reggie in that alt show. I didn't go to the alt show, but I consider it like a different show. Like it was the dating show, the wrestling,
yeah. My show.
and
One Night Stand.
Yeah, and it looked awesome.
Right.
It looked awesome, and I think that's what we need to do more. I think there's people that get the game,
Right.
and they really sell it. But I think like if you strictly stay to stand up, you're gonna really, it's not gonna be as profitable or like fruitful.
Right.
Which is, I don't know, yeah.
No, and I see that, and I mean, you see that just in terms of the comedy venues that are thriving in South Florida is the majority of clubs that are performance venues and not, I do shows at breweries or at bars or, music venues or things like that. But the clubs that do survive, that are more strictly focused on performance, end up, I think, being more like improv and sketch comedy, places that then happen to have, like a stand-up night. And it seems like, I mean, it's kind of easy to guess to say, okay, improv, you have teams, you have groups, it's a lot of, you're interacting with different people. I think improv also gets marketed as a way for people to kind of come out of their shell, and like I feel like Fossil picked up like an improv flyer, and that's how he got in, it's like, oh, learn how to interact with people and we get out of your shell and be yourself and blah 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 and improv
and have fun, yeah,
right. So I feel like that's a little bit, it's not like a cult, but it's a little bit of like a religion, in the sense of like, hey, you gotta come check me out with my group, and and it's like people who aren't really, it doesn't have a chance to become stale, in the sense of, I feel like stand-up comics who are strictly stand-up, maybe for the first year that they're performing, they can get it, for those that have friends, when they get into it, like, can get them out to shows. And then after that, it's like, well, I've seen your shit, or like, you're changing some jokes up here and there, but that's, I mean, stand-up, yes, you have to come up with fresh material, but you also need to, the hardest part is at the beginning is getting that, like, 10 minutes or 20 minutes that are solid, and that takes, a lot of going through it in front of people. And so I do think that that's a little bit why, especially for Miami, which is, like you say, already fighting an uphill battle in terms of getting people to sit and watch a show.
But the thing about all this is all this stuff is actually, we all talking about, we're compartmentalizing comedy. Like, all this isn't comedy. Like, I did Just the Funny. I did improv.
Comedy. I'm saying it's different types of comedy.
It is different types of comedy, but the problem is there's no synergy.
Right. Yeah. Like
stand-ups, like me, I'm a stand-up that did improv, right? But there's a lot of stand-ups that didn't do improv.
Right.
I mean, if you're a stand-up that did improv, maybe you'd start doing characters. I mean, if you literally, and then people, I mean, besides, like, I know Plus, he has his characters.
Oh, shout out, he's watching.
Yeah, probably not.
I know, he's watching on Facebook.
Oh, word? I'm just saying, like, he did, he did characters, and it's like, I'm just like, in my head, I'm like, I came back and I see a lot of potential, because I would go to the rooms, I see a whole new scene, like, people looking at me hard. I'm like,
talk about that once.
Yeah, everybody's looking at me hard, like, who's this new guy? I'm like, I'm visiting, and I'm your daddy.
or it's like, oh, who's this New York comic that's in town?
I'm a fucking hit him with this new joke that ain't gonna work in front of Nah, they're all great. They're actually really cool, and I'm trying to be, bring unity. Trying to drop the hate, I just feel like more people need to be working together. Like, that dating show is a good idea because because you added wrestlers, some dudes in the corner, because they know how to bring entertainment. Like, it's like.
Which they're not wrestlers, they're just they work at a bar. And
they work at a bar
wrestling
and they
thing,
practice
and they
wrestling
do that
at
kind of
home.
stuff,
Yeah.
Shout out Union Beer Store.
Yeah. What? And I'm also a wrestler too. Hit me up. I can take it there.
No, but and I agree 100% with what you're saying, and also in terms of like this new wave of comics that are popping up. Mixed, like there is definitely, I'm seeing a lot of people who are coming to it from a more professional place, in the sense of like, this is a career, you have to work at it, like you have to take classes, you have to like get, practice, you have to be open to different opportunities. So like, people like, shout out like Albert Bercy and Ashley Diaz, who are, for me, like they come from a theater background or improv, or like they don't they kind of got that experience, and they're going for commercial auditions and for like commercials. Like
that's great. No, that's awesome.
But I mean, it's you see that there's people who are coming at it, and I feel like there's a parallel with the visual arts, where you're seeing now this like second or almost third generation of people who are looking at comedy as a viable career path, because whether it's writing for like the late night shows, or for Comedy Central for like different shows, or in terms of the different avenues that are open now to comics. It's the same thing with visual artists, where a lot of doors opened up with things like Instagram and like different platforms where they could reach their audience directly. So it's funny to kind of see how both art forms are evolving, in the sense of you have artists that have been doing this for like